and the Geek, Marriage and Movies. I'm Lucinda, this is my husband Ian, and we like to watch movies and review them, and today we will be reviewing Poor Things. So, I was very excited about this film. You didn't know anything about it, did you?
I went into this one completely blind. I hadn't seen any of the hype.
And what did you think?
Absolutely blown away. You know, from the moment it starts, it sets out
visually
as an absolute feast, and I'm sure plenty of people have said that before. But it's absolutely spot on. Visually, it's a masterpiece.
It really is an incredible film. I had learned a lot about this film. I knew of the book, I knew the story. I'd seen a lot of interviews with Emma Stone, who plays Bella Baxter, and I'd seen interviews with Mark Ruffalo and the director, who is Yorgos, I can't say his name, anyway, so I'd seen a lot of hype for it, and I was really hoping.
We'll call him Yorgos.
Yeah, we'll call him Yorgos. I'd seen a lot of hype for the movie, and it really lived up to my expectations. It has a 92% score on Rotten Tomatoes, an 8.4 score on out of 10 on IMDb, and 5 out of 5 by Empire Magazine.
Very good.
So, the film is based on a book by Alistair Gray. It is the story of a woman called Bella Baxter, and you see her develop in a way that most humans don't. So essentially, it is a modern retelling of Frankenstein, because Bella is actually a woman called Victoria Blessington, who was with child and unalived herself. But in enters William Dafoe, who plays Dr. Godwin Baxter, or God, and he is like a mad scientist. And he basically takes the brain of the fetus, the baby in the womb, and puts it in the skull of the mother.
Yep.
So, you know, the interesting thing with Bella Baxter is she is her own mother, and he gives her a new name, and she is an experiment of human development. And as a child psychologist and someone who has studied child development and human development, I was really interested to see whether they would get this right, and they got it spot on. I mean, all credit to Emma Stone. She nailed it with the movements, the speech, and the actions and behaviour of a child growing up from being a toddler to becoming an adult. And it's amazing to see her go on this journey of self-discovery. And that's what this movie is.
You know, immediately everything is framed from a very basic level. You start off with Emma Stone running around like a regular toddler would do, dressed all in white, finding her way around the home that Godwin has brought her into, and the whole setup is fascinating. You're immediately introduced to a dog with a duck's head, so you can clearly see that Godwin has been at this for a while in terms of his experimentation, and the whole universe itself is set in this kind of anachronistic Victorian steampunk era, where you've got quite clearly a Victorian element of people sort of riding around in the streets in carriages. Obviously, Godwin's carriage is steam powered, with a fake horse leading it at the front, and you've got trams flying across the sky.
Yeah, so you don't really know what time it's set in, but it looks like it's set in Victorian times, but obviously there's things going on. It's not a modern movie. There's no computers or phones or any sort of new advances, maybe electricity to an extent. But yeah, that it's sort of, so it's not really set in any time, but if you were going to label it, it would be that sort of steampunk-esque time frame. And visually, it is a stunning film. It's incredible, and the way that it's been shot is incredible. The story is brilliant, as Bella kind of, you know, she's been restricted by God, her father / the mad scientist, and she wants to go out into the world, and thanks to Mark Ruffalo's character, she does go out into the world, but she just finds that she goes from one cage to another until she becomes independent. And there's a lot of people calling it a feminist movie, but a lot of people call Barbie a feminist movie, and we can do better than that. And I think the thing that is annoying me about the film is the fact that the one thing I keep seeing everyone talk about is the sex and the sexuality. Well, this is a film about human development. Child development, human development, sexual development. They're all human development. So to have cut any kind of sexual development out of this film would be ludicrous. It wouldn't be realistic. I know that Barbie is safe feminism because there's no sex talk, and God forbid anyone talks about a woman's sexuality. Also, Barbie is under that umbrella of capitalism because it's a toy, and it's a toy for children, so we were never going to get any sexuality. But Bella Baxter is so much more than her sexuality. You see the exploration of that, but you also see her language improve, you see her mind improve, you see her interactions with the other humans improve, you see her sort of conform to societal norms in a way. She understands more what becomes appropriate and inappropriate, what she should and shouldn't say. She wants to improve her mind, and yet it really annoys me that the thing I keep hearing everyone talk about are the sex scenes. Now, it is an 18 rated film, so you know if you're going to see an 18 or R rated movie, there's either going to be violence or sex. So the fact that so many people are like, oh, it's very graphic, it's a rated 18 for a reason, and I came away from the cinema with a lot of thoughts and feelings about it because I really relate to Bella. Her way of thinking is very similar to mine. Now, I'm neurodivergent, I have ADHD and autism, and she has that way of thinking, doesn't she?
She definitely does, and obviously you've got a developmental expertise in how you view that.
Yeah.
From a non scientific perspective, you can see her development, characterised by the way that she becomes a voracious reader throughout the movie, learning all sorts of different things, even down to her wardrobe. You can see the evolution of the clothes that she wears. The outfits become more extravagant and more colourful. You see, particularly in the scenes in Portugal, where Bella becomes, a really good dancer, and she's leading Mark Ruffalo around the dance floor.
She's got that freedom.
She absolutely
She doesn't care what other people think about her.
It's about a woman spreading her wings and learning and growing within the world that she's found herself within. And it's an incredible story because Mark Ruffalo's character, it absolutely starts out as this kind of slimy guy that's stealing Bella away for his own nefarious ends.
Yeah.
And she absolutely turns him inside out as she progresses through the movie.
Well,
the power dynamic absolutely changes.
And it's interesting because you could look at it when he meets her. His character is Duncan Wedderburn, and he's quite a melodramatic character. I've never seen Mark Ruffalo do melodrama, but he does it incredibly well. He really is phenomenal in this film. But you see him, he is trying to take advantage of this innocent girl. And she's like, yeah, okay. She kind of goes along with it, which he's intrigued by because I think women either would be very needy for him or tell him to go away. She doesn't behave the way other women have towards him. So he then becomes addicted to her and the dynamic switches. And all of a sudden, when she gets her independence and she doesn't need him because she has her own mind and she's figuring things out and she's going to find her own way and she's very self-assured, he completely loses that arrogance and that confidence, and he becomes a shell of a man. And it's very, very interesting to see that because we know, not with all men, but some men don't know what to do with an independent, free-thinking woman. So it is very interesting.
Very interesting, and Mark Ruffalo's character is not the only one
No.
to go through such a radical transformation. You also have the always wonderful Willem Dafoe, who plays God,
Yeah.
who has that journey from this disfigured, maniacal Frankenstein's father figure character, and you see as he himself. Throughout his childhood was experimented upon by his father, and that's very much how Bella's origins are found. She is an experiment that Willem Dafoe's character has come up with, but you see that kind of tenderness, that kind of love, that kind of fatherly affection develop within him as the story progresses, and he just wants to protect Bella until eventually he's just forced to let her go and be free.
Yeah, because he knows her and he knows that she's a free spirit. The men in this, well, there's a sort of juxtaposition of men. Obviously, you've got God, the scientist. Whether or not his experiments are ethical is a different story. Then you've got the melodrama of Mark Ruffalo, and honestly, you should just go and see the film for Mark Ruffalo alone. Although Emma Stone, if she doesn't win an Oscar for this, it's a tragedy. And then you have Rami Youssef, who plays Max McCandles, I think he's called, and he basically comes in as a sort of apprentice to William Dafoe's character, but he sort of falls in love with Bella, but he loves her so much that he is the only person who really loves her for her. You do see that with Willem Dafoe's character of God. You see him going from, at first he's trapping her in this cage, and then he does eventually let her fly, and I think the control is just from a protection element. But with Rami Youssef's character, he loves her so much, he doesn't want to control her, he wants her to be herself, and that's really, really lovely. And then you have this other character who comes in towards the end, played by Christopher Abbott, Alfie Blessington. Now, I mentioned Victoria Blessington, who tried to commit suicide, and basically God took her body and gave her the brain of her unborn child, but she is married to this really nefarious character who again wants to trap this woman. She goes with him, Bella goes with him, because she wants to find out who this woman is, whose body she has, and he wants to trap her as well. And then that leads to the question of, why did she kill herself? Did she kill herself because she apparently enjoyed this quite nefarious life that she had with her husband, but she knew she was going to be having a child, and that may not have been the right world to bring a child into? Or was it because she didn't like being pregnant? That's what the husband said.
In the context of how Bella views it, he's quite a sadistic character.
Very sadistic,
at the end, and it's a really good portrayal of a feminine fight against sort of patriarchal oppression,
absolutely.
In the form of this military gentleman who just wants to
hurt people
essentially. He gets his comeuppance in the end.
In a great way.
I think I won't spoil it, because if you haven't seen the movie.
So Bella goes off on all these adventures, and different things happen to her. She becomes a prostitute at one point, and there has been talk, which really annoys me, by the way, about whether this film is empowering or exploitative of women. And what I find really interesting is, if this was a male character who went off and did his things, we wouldn't be asking these questions, and we wouldn't be talking about the sex as much. I don't understand why we still can't appreciate women enjoying sex, women, utilizing sex as a way to make money. But you see Bella, who has always enjoyed sex, suddenly discover that when you're having sex for money, it's not all about you. And with some men, they don't care what you like. And I think that is so I do kink education on TikTok, and we talk about these things all the time. And I think those discoveries are just as important as some of the others. And it really annoys me that this purity culture that we have always wants to define a woman, but by her sexuality and judge her for her sexuality in a way that a man wouldn't. And that's why when you have the comparison between Barbie and Good Things, Barbie's safe, so it's always going to be, they're going to spin it as feminism. The only feminist thing really about Barbie was the fact that it was written and directed and produced by women, but that shouldn't be a big deal in 2024. It really shouldn't. The thing that everyone talks about in Barbie is the male character.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, we definitely talk about Mark Ruffalo because he's so brilliant, but the character of Bella Baxter is amazing, and watching her explore life. There's a moment she's on a cruise ship and she has all this money, and her friend Harry takes her to see the world, and she sees poverty. So she goes and takes Mark Ruffalo's money and gives it to or what she thinks is giving it to the poor. She gives it to the poor by way of other people, and she assumes that it will help them. You never actually find out whether they give this money to the poor or not. She thinks they have. And it's very interesting, again, that autistic mindset of being really naive and also just wanting, I don't need the money, so you have it. Which is why I think Bella probably is neurodivergent. But that trusting issue and I don't need it, so I'll give it to people that do. I also thought Catherine Turner, who plays the Madame of the brothel, was really good. She was in Moulin Rouge as well. She's been in lots of things. She's an incredible actress. She's absolutely phenomenal. Really, just everything about this movie was fantastic, but a bit like Moulin Rouge, if you don't get it, you won't get it. If you don't like it, you won't like it. But if you like it, you'll love it. I loved it. Did you like it?
It's an incredible journey, and the way that it ends, I think, is even though it's in Victorian England, you're assuming at this point, but the way it ends with Bella and her fiance and her lesbian lover from Paris, all in this under the same roof together with the dog with the ducks.
Polygamous.
It's such an amazing little arrangement that
very modern,
very modern, and very endearing. You see Bella on her journey to becoming a surgeon. She's studying at university, and it's just an incredible ending, really, to what is such an amazing visual treat of a movie. I think even if some of the elements of the story pass you by, you can still sit and enjoy the colours, the costumes, the sets,
the way it's shot.
Everything is amazing. I mean, some of the shots, you get that kind of peephole perspective where you're kind of made to feel like a little bit of a voyeur as you're watching Bella develop and go on this journey.
Because she is an experiment. So that's what you do.
Is. And it's just incredible. The whole movie is amazing, and we've seen some amazing movies in the run up to the Oscars this year.
I think this is possibly. I did love Iron Claw, but I think this is maybe my favourite. But I think because there's so many things that you can talk about, I like to think and I like to learn. I do feel like I'm a lot like Bella.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Poor you.
Just not the prostitution bit.
That you know of. I have to keep you in pretty things.
Well, yeah.
But I could talk about this movie all day long. I definitely want to see this movie again, and if I don't want to see a movie again, I don't. But if I could watch this every day until I get sick of it. Yeah. So the budget for this film was 35
million, and it's rapidly approaching, as of the 9th of February, 80 million in terms of worldwide gross. So really successful, which I'm really happy to see, because alongside Poor Things and The Iron Claw, we're seeing some indie movies with smaller budgets really do fantastically well at the box office.
We're spoiled for great movies at the moment.
Absolutely. There's so much good stuff out there at the moment. Get out to a cinema is all I would say. There's so many gems out there to be unearthed.
Also, you haven't seen The Favourite, have you? Which is another Emma Stone movie, but it's also got the same writer and director as Poor Things, and it kind of has that. Visually is very different, but in terms of the sort of characters and things like that, and the humour, but also sort of themes of all different kinds. It was definitely similar. You need to watch The Favourite. It's really, really good.
I do. And I think, you know, Emma Stone absolutely should be a shoo-in for the Oscars as far as this performance is concerned. But if you have not done anything in that Mark Ruffalo space for a while, if
definitely.
you've sat there and watched him for the last 10 years
as Hulk
stagnate in that kind of dad role
in
the Marvel universe, go out and see Mark in this movie. You know, if you've watched things like Zodiac, Shutter Island, you will know that this man has chops. You will know that he is an incredible actor. You might not have seen that over the last 10 years, but this is an absolutely welcome return to the Ruffalo that we want to see.
And what I would say about whether or not this is a feminist movie, I find that kind of offensive. Like, it's a movie about a woman going through life and figuring stuff out. If that makes it a feminist movie, then it's a feminist movie. But have we not moved on? Can a woman not just go and do whatever she wants, including, you know, why do we have to study it and say, oh well, this is feminism and this isn't? It's a woman living her life. She's a free spirit, she's independent, she doesn't stick to social norms, and if that makes her a feminist, then it makes her a feminist. But feminism isn't that complicated, to be honest. But it's a movie about learning, about development, about freedom, about life, fitting in, standing out, how we interact with each other, and just an all-round brilliant movie, and everyone should see this. And I can imagine psychology students, as I once was, watching this film for extra credit or to do some kind of learning thing, because as a child development expert, she nailed it. Emma Stone nailed it. And there's so much more that I want to say, but I'll have to save it maybe for TikTok because I don't think YouTube would allow it. I would give this like a 4.8 out of 5. It's almost perfect.
Enthusiastic thumbs up.
Absolutely
incredible movie.
Go and see this movie.
As close to perfect as it can be, I think.
Definitely. So please let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this movie. What did you think? If you want to take the discussion a bit more intensely to TikTok, that's a great place for me to do it. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.